What's up? This is Rebel Radio.
What up? What up? This is DJ Newmark.
This is Peanut Butter Wolf.
It's your boy. It's okay.
Keep checking out Rebel Radio.
Rebel Radio.
This is Rebel Radio.
We're in the place right here. Rebel Radio is going down.
Would you say Rebel Radio?
Oh, wait. Let's do it again.
Rebel Radio.
Back to Rebel Radio. My guest today is Mr.C. Mr.C, if you're not familiar with him, he is a bit of an enigma. In the 80s, he was the frontman for a group called the Shamen or the Shamen, depending on what part of the world you're from. He was one of the first British white rappers, a pioneer of hip house and tech house, helping to create new genres and expand our listening consciousness. These days, he's a label owner at Superfreq Records, but he's more interested in taking people on a spiritual journey than he is in selling records. And here in his late 40s, he's picking up acting and still discovering new talent and teaching transcendental meditation. This dude is all over the place and has just really interesting stories. I think we're going to learn a lot about self-confidence and about making the journey fun. And now, the interview with the one and only Mr.C. You do all your own social media. Yeah. So, some people really struggle, especially guys of our generation, kind of struggle with, now having to be on for fans in social media. But that you seem to...
They should switch jobs and become accountants.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, for reals. Have we started already?
Oh, I think he'll just get going when he
should
wants,
switch
and then we'll
jobs.
get into
Like,
it.
if you're a performer and an artist, if you're an artist and a performer, I think you've got a duty to your fans to communicate with them and, be involved in some way, interact with them.
Does that just come natural for you, or did you take a class? Like, did someone tell you you've got to get in it?
No, I've always been like that. Even back in the day when I was, a huge pop star with the Shamen.
Yeah.
After the gigs, I would change out of my stage clothes and put on my jeans and like t-shirt and like baseball cap and get out in the crowd.
Yeah.
And I'd be dancing, having it in the crowd, and people would look around and think, "This guy's a spitting image of Mr.C." You just come off stage 20 minutes before. He's like a spitting image, and then they'd be like, not sure, and it'd be all double takes. And then when someone actually clicked and they were like, "Oh, can I have an autograph?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And then that would be it. I'd be like swamped. I'd have to get out and get back in, like into a safe zone for a while, and then try again. But I've always been about community and getting involved. I don't look at myself as being any different or better than anyone else. Mm-hmm. We're all human.
Nice. And
with my Buddhist beliefs, we're all one. And what you see in others is only because you have it in yourself. Yeah. And, I like to get involved.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into all the questions, thank you for being here. I'm excited to meet you. I've been...
My pleasure, really.
I was listening to the Shamen in high school and loved the stuff that you were doing then. And then, I've seen you go on to just be a pioneer in dance music and, break down some barriers, and you're credited with inventing tech house. I've seen that online. Yeah. So, we love having people on the show that take chances and
I mean, for me, it's just passion. Do you know what I mean? I've got a very, very low boredom threshold with everything. So I'm always looking for new and fresh in everything in my life, and that keeps me going forward and being innovative and stuff. But that can be a bit of a downer sometimes, when you get bored of something and you move on, and then, the young upstart is picked up on what you left off, and 2 years later they're famous for it. Yeah. That can be a bit of a wind-up.
Of course. So where did that come from, that boredom? Were you like that as a kid?
I've always been the same, yeah. I've always had... my attention span's really good, but I just get bored really quick. And it's with everything. Always been a bit of an overachiever. And I think that might have something to do with it. When you're young and you're pretty bright and smart and you pick things up quickly and you've done it, it's like, okay, I've done that, next.
Yeah.
And so I think it comes from being an overachiever or just a smart kid, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you always know you wanted to be a musician?
No, not until I got to maybe 13 or 14. I kind of knew. It was a song called Rapper's Delight by the Sugar Hill Gang. Came out in 1979, and I was 13, and it was just like this 15-minute long rap that I learned every word of. And I was like, I like this. And you know, that kind of got me in there. And I was 16 when I started to rap. And from then I knew that I was going to be an entertainer of some kind, a rapper primarily, and wasn't aware I was going to be a DJ. It was always about vocals to start with, and it kind of went from there.
Yeah. Where was your first rapping gig?
And
what was the reaction?
It's quite funny because I started rapping. There was a guy that I went to school with from my local area, Robert Brown, his name, and we would hang out, and we were into disco, funk, soul, general black music. That was what our roots were in London. And we started like rapping just for the hell of it. It's like, let's write some raps, yeah? So, but he was like copying the raps of a rapper called Busta Rhymes, who was unknown at that time. This is like 1982. So like all Busta Rhymes raps were all on tape from New York, and my mate was getting a hold of these tapes, and he was copying his rhymes and pretending they were his. And there's me.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's just fun stuff on the street.
That's
yeah,
how you start,
but
right?
you're
and there's
you're a
me
teen,
writing
yeah?
my own, which were equally as good.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that pushed me. Like, you know, my mate's got these really good rhymes. I've got to be just as good. So, you know, I'm writing and equaling it, you know, and that kind of got me going. So that was at 16, but that was just fun stuff, you know, with each other, you know, listening to music in our bedrooms and rapping and getting on everybody's nerves out in the street, you know, like all our buddies in the street, just getting on each other's, getting on their nerves, driving them up the wall. And my first rap gig, I was 18, and I was on holiday in the Canary Islands in Tenerife. And I went to a nightclub, and there was a guy DJing, playing all my disco stuff, and I kind of got my nerve up. I'm going to ask him if he'll let me rap, and it was quite a big club, like, you know, 1,200 people room.
Oh wow!
And I went up to him and I said, "Hey, do you mind if I rap?" And he said, "What, you're going to like rap along to something?" I said, No, I've got my own lyrics. He said, "Really?" Yeah, and I said, "Come here," and I started rapping in his ear, and he's like, "Yeah, have a go." Never rapped before in a club, didn't know how to really MC a spot. And he's like, okay, so he's given me the microphone, and he said, "What track do you want?" I said, "Have you got Heavy Vibes by Montana Sextet, Vincent Montana? It's a really solid disco track, it's an instrumental." And he was like, "Yeah, I have that." It was a big hit at the time. And I used to practice on that, so I know all the breaks. It's like, yeah, this is the one. But so it builds for a little bit as a track for like, I don't know, 45 seconds or something, and then it has this long ass breakdown, and then it kicks in, and I knew where the breaks were, and then where it kicks in, and where it kicks in was where I'd start my rap. But as I'd never MC'd in a club before, I didn't know what I was doing. And instead of getting on the mic and saying, "Yeah, my name's Mr.C, I'm from London, how you feeling out there in Tenerife?"
Gotta warm 'em up.
Yeah, MC, you know, master of ceremony, move the crowd, you know. That's what MC is, move crowd, right? Oh, come on. And I didn't really know that, so I'm standing there waiting for the break, and then it breaks down, and like, because the guy's introduced me, he said, "Yeah, we've got a rapper from London, his name's Mr.C, we're going to put him on the mic." He's given me the mic, started the track from the beginning. So like, I'm waiting for the bit.
Oh my gosh.
So like, people are like, "What's going on?" And then the breakdown, and now people are shouting, "Come on, hurry up, sort it out." Boo, you know, and I'm like, and I'm thinking to myself, "Yeah, you're going to get it." And as it kicked in, I was starting to rap, and the place went absolutely nuts. It was just like,
Oh my God,
and the place went wild. And I went back for the next 5 nights that I was there on holiday, 6 nights, and rapped every night, and got the taste for it. And it was like, okay, the next night I realised, you know, actually I need to talk to these people, you know.
Right.
And it was great because I got treated like a star and got free drinks, and had lots of girls wanting to be interested. So I was like, yeah, this is good. I like this.
This is fun.
This is fun.
Yeah.
And that was my first actual club experience.
That's
but
amazing.
that's not really, that wasn't really where I'd say I got my start, because it is about London. And that came not long after that. when I got back from this vacation, I really wanted to get involved. And there's a legendary nightclub in London called the Camden Palace, that was where the first new wave music started, as well as old school electro from the early 80s and disco, and it'd be like high energy disco mixed with all this first wave, new wave electronic stuff. And a guy who was basically the instigator of all of that, and the UK's first mixing DJ, his name was Colin Flavour. Sadly, we lost him a month ago. But Colin Flavour was DJing with a big radio DJ called Chris Forbes from Capital Radio. And I asked him, I went up to the DJ booth, and he was always very friendly. The DJs there want to know what you want when you can get up to the booth. There's like a little doorway gate thing you can talk over. And he's like, yeah, what's that? I said, do you mind if I rap? He's like, oh, you're a rapper? You're a rapper? And I said, yeah. And I did the same thing, rapped in his ear. And he's like, oh, yeah, you're good. Come in the booth. Right. So I went in the booth, and same kind of thing. He said, what song would you like to rap on? And I just the same song, Vincent Montana, Heavy Vibes. And it's like, yeah, cool. And I rapped in there. And this is a club of 2,500 people. It's a big room. And people loved it and went mad. And it was really cool. And that was my first, what I'd call like my proper first London showing. And it was from there I started harassing DJs to get on the mic. And by the time I got to like 19, I was pretty well known in the London club circuit as a rapper. So that was where I really got.
So it took like a year, from 18 to 19.
Yeah, to get really well known.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it doesn't take long.
Right, because you're just hustling all the DJs.
Yeah, hustling everyone all the time. And, like I say, I'm really
amazing.
friendly, so I'm becoming friends with the DJs. And, I'm a good rapper, and like, especially for back then in the day. And it's quite strange to see a white kid doing it rather than, I was one of the few white rappers.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. I mean, how much did you stick out as a white rapper?
Like a sore thumb, it was really hard. I mean, I did have one issue that was quite crazy with, that thing that Eminem had on 8 Mile, where he was in the club and he was the only white dude.
Oh, right.
I had the same thing happen to me in London in 1985. I was with Jasper, the vinyl junkie, who's one of from LWR Radio, and he was playing with CJ Carlos, another DJ, a club in Dalston, which was a very urban black crowd in there, and pretty rough, actually. And there was a rap competition going on, and I was actually the rapper for a few of the LWR DJs, Ron Tom, good friend of mine, but I was with Jasper, the vinyl junkie, and we were heading down to this place, and he's like, oh, there's a rap competition, you have to get involved. And I'm like, no way, don't even think about it. There's no way. I'm not really a battle DJ. I'm a more fun, a battle MC. I'm a fun MC. I want to have a laugh. I want to enjoy myself. And we get there, and I'm out on the dance floor hanging out, and they start this competition, and CJ Carlos gets on the mic, and he says, yeah, we're going to do this rap competition now, and the first rapper we're calling up is Mr.C. No, please, earth, open up and swallow me whole. And, I got up there, I was pissed. But that was good because the anger came out in the lyrics. Sure. And I threw down some hardcore battle lyrics, Beastie Boys style, in your face. I did hardcore. And the place went nuts. It was just like the whole place just kicked off. And, the next guy that came up got like juice cartons thrown at him and the booed, and the next 3 guys, a crew, come up, they were getting juice cartons thrown at them, and I won the competition and ended up with the hottest chick in the house. That's what's up. So that was fun.
Nice. And so, you go from that to the Shamen, and I think
there was a DJ transition came in between.
Okay.
Yeah, like I actually made my first record. I didn't go back to the Camden Palace for a year or so, and I went back in. It was early '86, and my other mentor, Evil Eddie Richards, was DJing with Colin Flavour, who was still the resident. And I went up and reminded my Colin to myself. I was like, do you remember me? I rapped in here a year ago. And he was like, yeah. Do you want to do a rap? And I'm like, yes, please. He said, well, I'm playing like house at the moment, which is why I went up to him. This is '86. He said, let me slow it down to some hip hop in a little while and then come back. And I'm like, well, no, actually, I don't rap on hip hop anymore. He's like, what? I'm like, I rap on house. He's like, no, nobody raps on house. I rap on house. All my lyrics are about jacking your body, and it's about house music. And he's like, but I've never heard that before. I'm like, no, it's unique. It's something that only I do. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. He said, I said, what tune you got lined up? He said, oh, I've got Nitro Deluxe, this brutal house. I'm like, okay, let me get on that one. That's perfect. He's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. So I get on the mic and I start rapping about jacking and jacking your body and jacking the groove and house music all night long, kicking hardcore, coming from London and all that sort of stuff, really getting in. And they were blown away. And Colin wanted me to rap with him on Kiss FM. It was a pirate station back then, and get more involved. Eddie Richards wanted me to come touring with him and rap with him and go in the studio. And that was when I made my first record in 1986. It was a extremely deep house track, 118 BPM. We called it Page 67. And because it was so deep, I didn't want to rap on it. Instead, I elected to do a spoken word vocal about my passion, which was meditation, the law of attraction, creative visualization. All my mates thought I was nuts when I was a kid because like nobody was into this stuff 30 years.
It.
No one was into this stuff.
Well, as teenagers.
30 years ago. It was unheard of. Everyone thought I was crazy because that was what my thing. I was into that. Still am. And it was after making that record that was released in August 1987, which would have been the first hip house record ever released had I done a rap. It was after releasing that I said I need to get more involved with this. So it was then I became a DJ. I said I need to learn more about the way that crowds work. I knew the breaks anyway as a rapper, so that made mixing really easy for me. Good ear, and it was then I said I want to be a DJ. So I then started to DJ and MCing on my own DJ sets as well. So the DJing thing came a good 2.5 years before the Shamen thing came along for me.
So, I mean, everything you're talking about is so risky. Yeah. Is the word that comes to mind, right? And
fun is what comes to mind for me. I don't look at things as being a risk. I'm like, this is going to be fun. Yeah. Right. You know? Yeah. And you have to push the boat out. Yeah. If there's no risk, it's not fun, is it?
I love it.
So are you ever thinking like, my stakes are pretty high right now. Can I still have fun? Can I take these kind of risks? Or you're just like, listen, I'm in this.
I'm the original honey badger. For me, it's never been a risk. Yeah. It's always been fun. Yeah. Rapping on house, people are like, what's going on here? Sorry, excuse me. Yeah. People are like, what's going on here? This guy's rapping on house. But people are loving it. Right. So you don't even think about risk as a kid, especially as a kid. I was, young.
But when you're thinking like business, how do those two things work?
Even now I have trouble with the business side of things. I mean, I am a businessman, but, I don't care. I'm an artist, first and foremost. Right. That's what's important to me is art. The art is the agent of human evolution. We have to keep moving forward, and I'm very easy to inspire. I hear something fresh and exciting, and I get like a big kid. My hair stands up on end, and I'm like, yeah. And I'm passionate about that. So for me, I don't look at risk, and it's like that, as a DJ, I'm always searching for new music, and what I do is very different to other DJs, and I don't think, this is different, and this is a bit darker, and this is a bit more twisted, and this is a bit too deep. I don't even think about it. I think, I love this tune, and if I love it, it's because it's good, and others will love it, and I don't even think about it. Right. It's like, people deserve to hear this stuff, and that's my attitude. So I don't look at risk, and I don't have any fear. Oh, honey badger.
Nice. Well, go back to something you were saying earlier. We're all meditators.
Oh, okay, cool.
And so I'm curious how you discovered that in Buddhism and how
okay,
that came
I was
into
17. My stepfather came out of jail smoking marijuana and meditating. And he said to me, have you heard about this meditation and stuff? I'm like, well, heard of it, but I don't know what it is. He said, well, meditation is when you bring your mind to stillness by chanting a mantra, and by chanting a mantra it takes away the thoughts, and then you clears your mind of thoughts and brings you into the moment. And when it brings you into the moment, it gives you a certain power that you can then use for positive thinking. And, you know, I'm like, yeah, and it caught my interest immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And I was only 17, and like I say, people weren't into it, but, you know, I read some books on the subconscious mind and how that worked, and started to meditate, chanting a mantra inside my own head. So it was transcendental meditation that I started with.
Is there one book that really made a difference for you?
Oh, huge. Transcendental meditation and positive thinking, the law of attraction, has been the reason for all of my success, without any doubt whatsoever. You know, like I'm a kid from inner city, urban London. I'm a street kid. You know, I was in trouble as a kid all the time, in trouble with the cops. Didn't go to school after the age of 14. I thought it was more fun to be truant and cause trouble with my mates on the streets, be in gangs. You know, that's where I come from. And, you know, I had nothing. I didn't graduate. I had no qualifications for anything. I did, like, manual work when I was old enough to get a job. And, you know, I had absolutely nothing. But it was meditation and positive thinking that turned my life around from being in trouble to being a creative. And it was that I think really made me focus on what I actually wanted in life, because once I realized that perception is everything, and that it's all an illusion, and that it's only your perception of the illusion that creates the illusion, because whose illusion is it? It's yours, right? So you know, if it's all an illusion and it's my illusion, then I can make this into whatever I want it to be. So let me get detailed on that and let me focus on that.
Yeah.
So, you know, I knew I was going to be a big rapper. And when I said to my mates, like, I'm going to, like, after I started meditating, I'm going to cane this as a rapper, they're like, yeah, whatever. You're just like us, you know, not going anywhere.
Of course.
And then, you know, I started getting well known as a rapper, and then I'm like, oh, I'm going to make some music. I'm going to make a record. And like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and then I'm going to be a huge DJ, like, yeah, whatever. And then I'm going to be a pop star, and they're like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, I'm going to, you know, win songwriting awards, like, yeah, whatever. And then when I said I'm going to open the best club in the world, they went, well, I think you will. You know, that's kind of how it was. And it's so meditation and positive creative visualization have been the root of all of my success. Yeah. I actually do workshops and I teach.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. We'll have to come.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Here in LA?
they're pretty here in LA.
I'm
They're
coming.
pretty intense. I cover a lot of things. It's like a 9-point plan, inspired by my own guru in London, John Osborne Hughes, who does meditation and creative visualization workshops as well as teach actors. He has a thing called the spiritual psychology of acting, which is awesome. I studied method acting with him for like 5 years. It's
Nice.
amazing stuff. So yeah, with the workshops I do, it's a 9-point toolkit, I call it. Number one is meditation. I teach meditation and explain what it's about, why we do it, what the benefits are, and the whole point of meditating. Number two is oneness, the self and the absolute. Number three is the subconscious mind and the conscious mind, how they're related and how we can hijack the control back from the subconscious mind. Number four is the law of attraction and positive thinking. Number five is banishing negativity and negative thoughts completely and cleansing karma. And number six is attachments, what they are, why we have them. And then number seven is actions, right action, wrong action and inaction, and how to practice making right action all the time. Number 8 is altered states of consciousness and brain waves. And number 9 is the pineal gland, what it is, how to look after it. So it's a 9-point toolkit that joins a lot of things and gives you, like, joins the dots on a full picture and gives you a toolkit that you can use to map out your own destiny and ultimately be happy, because happiness is what's really key. And the workshops that I do, I also do psychoanalysis, psychology in the workshop to find people's hidden problems, because those hidden problems will cause blockages and stop you making the right decisions on life. So I do what we call purpose finding, and find people's hidden problems and then regress them to the events that cause those problems, and then give them a technique for finishing their thinking on those events. Once you finish your thinking on an event, the purpose caused by the event disintegrates, thus clearing the blockages and helping you to make the right decisions about creating your own destiny and future. And happiness. Happiness is what it's all about, happiness, because that's what enlightenment actually is. People think enlightenment is an accumulation of knowledge and information, but it's not. Enlightenment is lighten meant. Just be happy. That's what it is.
Well, that's pretty amazing. In addition to what we were talking about earlier, a pretty full touring schedule.
Oh yeah.
And so, it strikes me as you're talking about all of this that the music business is probably a great place to test, to put all that to the test, isn't it?
It really is. The music business is a great place to put this to the test. If you know that you're going to do well in this industry, then you will. Yeah. If you hope that you're going to do well in this industry, forget it. Yeah. Go and get yourself a real job. Yeah. It's language is really important because you're programming onto the subconscious. So you have to be careful about what you think and the way in which you think it. That the law of attraction doesn't know the difference between I want this and I don't want this. You see, it's this that it's understanding. So you have to be careful with language. And if you say, I want to be, you're programming yourself to be a wannabe. So you have to really come into the moment and say, I am. And let that be the focus. I am and it is are probably the most important words you're ever going to need to use in your life. So it's really important to get that focus right.
So can you think of times in business where you've really tested that?
I've always been testing it, since day one. And not even testing it. Testing it's the wrong word. Using the tools and techniques to make my life happy. And that's the way it is, and I've kind of achieved a lot of stuff. When you think about it, from coming from nothing, from a street kid to winning UK Songwriter of the Year. Only one band or person can be UK Songwriter of the Year. Yeah. And I won the IVA for that with my partner Colin Angus in 92, 93, and that's huge. So to go from that to that, I know how I made that, and I made that by determination, dedication, and knowing that I can. Yeah. And if you don't know that you can, then you won't. And it's like that with, you look at anyone that does anything, whether it be any of the arts, entertainments, sports, even people in regular business that drive their way to the top, managers, general managers, managing directors, CEOs. You have to have some drive, and you have to know that you can, and you have to work hard, because hard work is paramount. You have to study, you have to do the research, you have to learn. It doesn't just fall in your lap. You have to put in the work. Right. But if you're prepared to put the work in and you know that you can, it's the knowing that makes it work. If you have any doubt, it's not going to work. And I think that's with not just with music, but with everything. You have to, go for it and have belief in yourself. Know that in your own heart and feel that in your heart that you are. And then there's no stopping.
We're going to have you come speak at the office. Take over a Friday team meeting.
Well, so, one thing I find so interesting is you've been able to do that in so many different areas, right? So as a rapper, as a DJ, as a producer, remixer, club promoter, label owner. Is there anything that you can't do? You were saying it before you're even your own
I think
agent.
if I wanted to do something and I made the right steps to go and do it, then I can do it. Like, the next step for me will be acting. It was one of the reasons I've moved to Los Angeles 6 years ago, although I haven't really been able to get involved because I've been so busy with my music and my DJing and my labels and everything else that I'm doing, my throwing events around the world. But, I studied 5 years method, hardcore, every week, Stanislavski, Chekhov, proper method acting. And that was the reason I came here. And that will be another thing for me to test my knowing with. And, I know that I will be one of the biggest actors to ever leave the shores of the UK. And I feel like Anthony Hopkins needs some kind of a replacement, and that could well be me, And it's like, when I tell people that,
you have a bit of an Anthony Hopkins vibe.
Yeah,
I suppose a little, I
Cooler.
can definitely play a psycho. That's for sure. And and I feel that, that's going to be the next challenge for me. Yeah. And I know that I will get there, and I know that I will have a lot of fun doing it. I never thought I'd find something that I enjoyed as much as DJing, and they're very similar, acting and DJing, because you're in the moment, you're not thinking about it. If you've done your preparation and your hard work, which is what it's about as a DJ or an actor. If you prepare properly, you build your character properly, you learn properly. A bad actor practices until he gets it right. A good actor practices until he can't get it wrong. You see? And if you've done the work and you've dedicated yourself and you've built the character properly, there's no reason why you can't go on to do amazing roles and have fun. Right. And it's like being a child. Like, you get to pretend to be someone else and have fun doing it. I mean, how much fun is that? Yeah. I never thought I'd find something I loved as much as DJing, and I have, which is great because I'm not getting any younger. And DJing is a young man's game, which is, and I've still got a good few years left in me, but I'm an artist and I'm an entertainer and I'm a performer, and I've found something that I can move into. And I think that time is approaching pretty soon. And,
it's funny you say it's a young man's game, and I get it. At the same time, the guys that have been at this for a while, we now have rappers in their 50s. We now have, Carl Cox, Oakenfold, those guys.
A lot of the big DJs are all older.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I find that it's hard to imagine in the 80s, 90s, looking at a rapper and thinking of, this guy one day is going to have diabetes, or is going to, our first rappers are starting to die of old age concerns, right?
Yeah, well, this is it. Well, we're starting to lose our colleagues.
Absolutely, and DJs, the same. And how does that different when you're on stage, when you're in the booth now, compared to
I don't feel
as
any
a team?
different. I like when I'm in a DJ booth and I'm mixing it up. I love it as much as when I started. I absolutely love it, and I feel one with the crowd. It's not them and me; it's us. It's a oneness, and I absolutely love it. And as an individual, I love fashion. I love, I'm in some ways younger than my years, and a lot of my friends are now younger because I'm partying a lot. I still go out and get involved, and I don't see myself as being like everyone's dad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
I see myself as part of the community. Yeah. So it doesn't really make any difference to me, that the whole age thing. Right. I think that's, age is not important as such, especially with DJing, because a lot of these, like I say, the big name DJs are getting older. Sadly, for most of those, they don't have other things that they can do, and they'll die behind the wheels of steel, get into the booth with a Zimmer frame. Right. Get into the let me get into the booth. That's not going to be me.
That's a sad idea.
The good thing is, with movies, you need old people in movies. Sure. You need
always seeing the opportunities.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Is that I mentioned all the stuff you do. Is DJing kind of your favorite? If you had to just do one thing, could you do that?
If I had to do just one thing, it would be DJing. Yeah.
Why
or maybe acting now, but forget the acting. It would be DJing.
Why that one?
Because there's really a magic in the community, and when you're in a room and you've got a bunch of people all hearing the same sounds, feeling the same body temperature, seeing the same visuals, smelling the same smells. You start to alter people's brainwaves from the normal beta state into the alpha and theta states, and they release the serotonin neurons, and all of a sudden there's this connection that starts to happen, and a telepathic community starts to form. And if you're in control of that in some way, in a suggestive manner, and you can make people misbehave, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That for me is what it's about. It's about bringing people into the moment so they can forget about the problems of yesterday and the possible solutions of tomorrow, and celebrate life in the moment and misbehave and act like children and be free. And for me, that's what it's about, and that is a real magic. And I could imagine that same magic you can capture in theatre. But like that, as a DJ, it's an amazing experience and a beautiful thing to be able to help people to celebrate life.
Do you think that's changing? You know, we talk a lot about how technology is impacting the making of music, the enjoyment of music. Certainly DJing is different. James and I were talking the other day about, you know, when you had to carry milk crates.
Oh, God, yeah.
And like...
Thank God they're gone.
Well, that's what we were saying, right, is there's this resurgence of vinyl now, the renewed interest in vinyl. But I can't see anyone wanting to go back to hauling crates around.
Yeah, I hauled crates until 2 years ago. I was a vinyl DJ right up until 2 years ago, and I had a very serious back injury. I slipped a disc, and it took 8 weeks for my spine to get back into line, and then months of rehabilitation. And it was at that moment I was like, right, records, you're going to take a back seat. But now I'm back to full health, and I have been for a year. So I think I'm going to start carrying a bit more vinyl again, but not like 2 huge record boxes anymore. I mean, but like, you know, maybe
right?
30, 40 discs, you know, that you can mix up with the, you know, put your WAV files in, mix it up with the vinyl all together. You know, that's got to be the way forward, I think. But I'm definitely going to start playing a bit more vinyl again for next year. I can definitely see that on the cards.
So as technology makes it easier to DJ, right?
I mean, there's the you know, plug and play generation,
right? Absolutely,
you know,
right. And
button.
right, if you go look at a rave,
when do you start this? 1, 2, 3, 4, start.
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4, stop.
Sure.
And there it is. That's a mix. Ooh, and it all synced it for me. Aren't I fantastic?
Right.
No, you're not fantastic. But you know, selection is a big part of it, and a lot of these people that couldn't mix a cookie dough. They do, some of them have great selections.
Sure.
And I think technology is a great thing. If you can be creative and do your own edits and make your own versions of things and remix things live using loops and effects, then I think that's great. And technology can be a fantastic aid if used in a very creative manner, and I'm all about it. And like, you know, I've watched DJs being very creative with technology whilst they're spinning. And you know, sometimes it looks like they're doing their emails or they're on Facebook, but it still can be pretty special what is coming out of the speakers. So that I'm all about. It's the ones that, you know, just play one record after another, all on sync, that kind of wind me up a little bit. But even then, I don't care. You know.
Well, you know, look, it's what I'm wondering is does that can we still, what you were talking about earlier, taking people on this sort of transcendent journey, right? Can that still happen?
Yeah, I think it's all about selection and also about being one with the crowd. The problem is, I think, is the large majority of DJs are all about this.
Yeah.
Look at me, look how good I am. And a lot of DJs do it for the fame and the adulation. And I think when you're not one with the crowd, that's what's going to make things more difficult to take people on a journey. And I think there are a bunch of DJs that do it for the right reasons, and those are the ones that are creating magical journeys. And I think those magical journeys are about wanting to be one with the crowd, and wanting as yourself and the crowd as a collective to go on some sort of a journey where you're having a lot of fun. And DJing for the right reasons, and the only reason to be a DJ, in my view, is to help people to celebrate life, to bring them into the moment. Because when you're in the moment and you're dancing, you're not thinking. So it's meditative. It's like meditation. You know, like we're constantly stuck in thoughts, and all of our thoughts, 100% of them, are about the problems of yesterday and the possible solutions of tomorrow. When you're in the moment and concentrating on something, which is what meditation is, or dancing, you're not thinking about these problems. That's a celebration of life. And I think that's what DJing is about. That's what entertainment is about. It's about taking you away from the drudgery of existence. You know, we're the only creature on the planet that has to earn a living. And it's like, you know, you can get away from that and come into the moment through the power of dance. And I think the more DJs realize that, and the more DJs play to help people to celebrate life, then the more journeys we're going to get. But journeys are still happening. They are very possible, and there's a ton of great DJs out there. A lot of the new kids coming through are awesome. I love it that there's so much great new talent coming through.
Who are some favorites?
Well, like, you know, I'm very biased, but, you know, all the people that I've got working around me, there's loads of great talent here. You know, Noel Jackson, David Scuba, Zoshi, like all the Superfreq crew I love. You know, but there's lots of new kids coming through from all over the world. And that's exciting. You know, I remember, you know, like 10, 15 years ago, I was like, will I ever be able to give up this thing? You know, who's going to take on the baton? Who's going to carry the torch once I put it down?
Yeah.
Now I feel like I could quit tomorrow. There's so many people doing it. It's like fantastic and really meaning it from all over the world.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm all about the kids. You know, getting them, giving them a platform and giving them a break. That's what my Superfreq label's about. You know, I've got a lot of young talent on the label. I want the label to be a platform for new talent and for talent that isn't getting the opportunity that it deserves. And you know, I think that's great.
If I worked for you, is there something I would hear you say over and over?
Am I allowed to swear?
Yes.
Cunt. It's my favourite word, and I put emphasis on the T. You know, but it's always a term of endearment.
Okay. You talked about the fame earlier, and you know, I find it interesting. You know, the Shamen were a big commercial success. You know, Ebenezer Goode, in particular, was a huge international hit. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yet most of what you've done has been really underground. And I think, you know, I tend to think of you as an underground artist.
Yeah, I mean, like, even this back in the day when we did the Shamen, I mean, obviously Ebenezer Goode was a #1 pop hit that would have been #1 for months if we hadn't have deleted it after a month of being #1. And, you know, it's like the band itself, the music that we made was far from commercial. Like, you know, obviously Ebenezer Goode had a commercial hook, and it was very accessible. And I think because, you know, it comes from England, and the English are real jokers, or the British are real piss takers. And because of that, you know, I think that really helped the song catapult to #1 as it did. But the Shamen were always a little bit different. We weren't your normal pop band. And, you know, even though we were commercial, you know, Progen, Move Any Mountain, was our first huge hit. And that was a cult song, and that was what made it a hit. It wasn't because it was a commercial song, but the quality of that, the quality of the writing from Colin Angus, Will Sinner, my raps, you know, like, it made that get that big. And it was the same with, like, you know, when the Boss Drum album came, and it was hit after hit. Love, Sex, Intelligence, Ebenezer Goode, Boss Drum, Forever People, our biggest selling single. You know, these had great hooks. You know, Colin Angus is a genius songwriter, and to, like, for me to have the pleasure of writing with someone who's that genius, it was amazing. You know, these weren't your normal everyday pop songs. And also, when we performed live, we didn't perform the pop 7-inch versions. We did acid versions. Yeah. And like, so live, I feel that we were better live than on vinyl. What we did live was next level. It was mental. Shows were proper raves, and the way we performed live was next level. Lots of live synths, live drums, live vocals, and it was just in your face. Proper rock and roll energy, acid house. And you know, because of those things, the Shamen were in many ways underground, and for me that's always been in my heart. And you know, before I became a pop star, I always said, you know, like, when this opportunity of the Shamen thing came up, and I was asked to be a guest vocalist on Move Any Mountain, which was my first involvement with the band, because the band was a psychedelic rock band before it moved to London to discover acid house, which I was one of the instigators of that scene. And you know, when the band moved and decided to switch it up, it was like, I was lucky and fortunate to be asked to get involved. And once I was involved, I said, I'm going to make sure that any money that I earn from being a pop star, I'm going to plough it back into the underground scene in London. Wow. And that's what I did. You know, when we became pop stars, I didn't buy a flash car and a house. I spent a bunch of money on an amazing recording studio, on starting Plink Plonk Records, employing a bunch of people to work and run the label. I had a fantastic partner, Paul Rip, who I was doing the Plink Plonk thing with, and I pumped every penny that I had back into the underground, the last of my money into opening The End, which was one of the greatest nightclubs the world has ever seen, and the blueprint for all modern day clubbing. And every penny back in. I didn't spend anything on myself at all.
So tell us what made The End so great.
What made The End great was, real clubbers making a real club for real clubbers. Leo, my partner from Leo and Bushwhacker fame. Leo's father, who was the third partner, Douglas Paskin, is one of the best architects in England, from PKS. Stunning work that man does, absolute genius. And he was commissioned to turn this space into some sort of a shell that could be used for some sort of a leisure and arts and entertainments complex. Leo was already a promoter and started DJing, and he'd been promoting since he was a youngster at university, promoting parties for his university mates, and always into quality underground music, always knew where it was at. And he came to me and asked me if I'd like to get involved in this project, because we were mates anyway, and he knew, I was been throwing my own parties for many years in London, like underground warehouse parties. I've always done that stuff. Even as a pop star with the Shamen, I was throwing illegal underground parties every month, like proper house and techno parties. It was like a schizophrenic Mr.C. And Leo said, do you want to get involved in this project? And I'm like, oh, let's go and have a look at the venue. And we had a look at it, and there was these low tunnels. I was like, well, if we dig down, they can be high tunnels, and it's a lot of vision. And I was like, well, it can work. And I put the first large chunk of money into that, which persuaded others to put money in, and the banks matched whatever we raised. Nice. And that got the project going. So at the end, we built that from scratch, and again, that was a big risk, but that was the last of the money that I'd earned from my first bunch of Shamen proceeds and from the Boss Drum album. Wow. So I've always invested everything back in, and that's something I've always done.
Did somebody help you make that decision? Did you just know when you got the check? Because, like you said, most young guys...
I knew. Well, I knew that. Well, the first thing I did when I got that check was build a studio and start the label, and it was immediate. I wanted to start Plink Plonk Records for 3 years, and was a poor kid and a DJ, having to survive on small underground DJ fees until that first Shamen check came in. And that first Shamen, that big Shamen check came in a year and a half after I became a pop star. People think you're loaded, but you're because with Move Any Mountain, I was just a guest on that, and it takes a while for the money to start trickling through. And then the Boss Drum album, the time it took to actually get paid after breaking even, it was like the end of '92 before I got my first big check, and it was like immediate. Right, I've been waiting for this moment for years, so it was immediate. It was like right, bam. Find the location, build the studio, start the label, employ the people, get the offices. Let's rock and roll. And it was immediate, and there was no hesitation or second thoughts.
Do you have any favorite nights at the end?
So many favorite. The closing. The closing was by far the best clubbing experience of all of my years. In England, you don't need ID, or I didn't back in the day. Wow. And I started clubbing when I was only 13 years old. I looked a little older. I looked 16. If you look 16, you can pretend you're 18, So I started clubbing really young. And, I've seen it all. I've been to closings of nightclubs, closings of parties. I've done the biggest festivals and nightclubs and DJed in the best clubs throughout the world. And there was nothing that could be quite like the end closing party. It was magical.
Who played?
Every way. Laurent Garnier, Ben Watt, myself, Leo, Bushwhacker, Errol Alcombe, a bunch of youngsters that were working with the club. But that was the general, Nice. And it was and 20-hour party. It was mental. And it was like people dancing as though it was the last time they were allowed to dance. The emotions that were flying out, the celebrations, the laughter, the agony, the tears, the complete extremes of every emotion imaginable, because the end really was home to many, many, many people. And the heartbreak and the celebration all in one was unreal, unreal.
Did you have so you and Leo were partners?
Yes.
What did you learn about business partnerships from that experience?
I think, I've learned a lot about business partnerships. I've always worked with people. I enjoy working with people. And, you got to learn in life that there's always someone that knows more than you. And this has been one of my problems with my career, is that, I've always been a little bit my way or the highway. And I'm stubborn as a mule. I really am stubborn as a
true
mule.
Artist.
And if you, tell me to do something, even though it's the right thing for me, I'm going to do the opposite.
Yeah.
I was always like that rebel, punk. And it's like, so working with people does teach you to be a little bit more open-minded. And even now at my age, I'm still learning to let go, let flow. And, give things up and stop being so anal about things. For me, it's like, it's always got to be really underground. It's got to be cutting edge. It's got to be the future. And only I can do this because no one else has my vision. And I'm still having trouble letting it go. But I think I'm just getting to a point now where I'm ready to actually let go of that and start stepping things up for my own brand, which I have to do for my artist's sake, instead of, because I am a pretty selfish individual, or stubborn, not selfish, stubborn individual, and that I have to do things in a certain way, and I have to make sure that it's done that way and won't let anyone else interfere. Is stubbornness, maybe insecurity, definitely ego, still things that I need to get a grip on of myself and learn, because you don't stop learning. And I have my faults like anyone else, so I need to deal with my ego issues and allow to let things go and let others more involved. But I think I'm reaching that stage now, and I'm ready for a big change in my career musically, and ready for my brand to take a big leap and get others involved that can help Superfreq realize its potential. Yeah.
So you talk about you mentioned a couple mentors, Evil Eddie,
Flavour.
Colin. What are some the important lessons that they taught you?
Well, Colin Flavour, humility, the most humble man that ever lived. This is the guy that was mixing up first wave, new wave with old school electro, and when you think like, where did our music come from? It came from people like Frankie Knuckles and Ron Hardy in Chicago in the early to mid 80s, finding first wave, new wave music and mixing it with disco. Well, who was mixing the first wave, new wave music? Colin Flavour. You see? So he predates that. Yeah. He was post-punk, predating Detroit techno, Chicago house, this is the root of everything. So, and then to be so humble and so sweet and so nice, unbelievable. And then Eddie Richards, a master technician, single vision, single-sighted, won't let anything change the way he is, determination, knowing what is right and what is wrong and not deviating from the path. I learned a lot from that as well. Obviously, watching them when I was a rapper and being their rapper, watching them DJ, that was one of the things that made it so easy for me to be a DJ. I always knew the breaks, and like knowing how it was done by watching them. That was a huge learning curve for me as well. So it's like they've been an influence on me with humility, integrity, and technical skills. I think they've been the main three things that I've learned from my mentors.
And then what about with what you're doing with Superfreq? What's the goal?
Well, the goal has always been, up until this point, to have a platform for new talent with the label, with the parties, which Superfreq celebrates its 14th anniversary in March. The parties were always about creating boutique environments for like-minded adults who want to dress up, look fantastic, listen to cutting-edge, forward-thinking, innovative music, get out of their minds and have as much fun as possible and misbehave in an adult boutique environment. And that's always what it's been about, Superfreq. Adult entertainment at its absolute best for all, and for fun, but about pushing the envelope musically and artistically. That's what Superfreq has always been about as a party, and keeping it boutique. And like with the label as well, I've never cared about sales. The commercial side of it has never been important to me, but it's always been about the label being an expression of the events and an expression of the music that the events are about, and about being a platform for new talent. But now I'm having a bit of a change of heart, and I feel that if I'm going to be a platform for new talent, it needs to be the best platform that I can supply. So I think it's time to take Superfreq to the next level and start to push it into a bigger arena. And without compromising the sound, without compromising the attitude, but to make the platform the best it can be for the new talent, because they deserve more. It's the kids that are on the label that deserve more.
Yeah.
I want them all to be stars. I want all of the artists on the label to be the next big thing.
That's cool. How important is that, not caring about sales, to being successful?
No, I think you need to care about sales to be successful. Maybe that's one of the reasons Superfreq isn't a big selling thing. I don't even look at the statements. I leave my partner to look at. I don't care.
Sure.
And I do the A&R,
Yeah.
so I don't A&R on what's sold. That's sold the most. Let's put more of that out.
Right.
I don't look at the sales. I A&R on what hits my heart. So I've got a different attitude towards my A&Ring of the label. I put out music because I love it and I think it's amazing, next level shit, and because it's fun, and that's why I put out music as an art form, and as an outlet for art, because that's what it is. So I don't care about sales as far as the label is concerned, but I do care about sales as far as the artists are concerned. So I think that's why I'm ready to take the brand into a bigger arena.
Got it.
And I think, like, at the moment, I think the music that we're releasing on Superfreq is probably some of the most innovative music in the world. The talent that I've got around me, and a lot of it's from LA, is amazing. Like, I've got artists, Genre and E-Machinery, they're like the new Model 500. It's amazing music. I've got a French artist, Lo, from Calais. He could be the next Laurent Garnier. I've got seasoned artists like Jay Tripwire, who's absolutely amazing. Why is he not as big as Ricardo Villalobos? I've got, David Scuba, who's, he's originally from New York. He's my partner, and, he lives here, and he's an amazing DJ, such a wonderful guy, fantastic producer with his own sound that's next level. There's the Dance Spirit Boys, Chris and Reagan, they're from here, amazing. They're making beautiful deep house and edgy house and a bit of acid and stuff like that. All these artists are next level, and I feel that all of these artists that I've got around me, fantastic DJs, fantastic musicians, sweethearts, lovely people, fun, they're all the full package, and they all have the potential to be the next big thing. That's kind of where I want to take the label now. I think now that it's, got a foundation that's built deep, the foundation is so deep, nothing's going to rock it. Yeah, if that's done, now we need to start building the tower.
Nice.
And that's next.
How do you... Okay, let me figure out how to word this, because you focus a lot on underground, but when you want to take something and put it on a bigger platform, does that challenge something being underground?
No, look, I don't think there is any such thing as underground anymore. When you think about all the music that is, inverted commas, underground, is it? When, like, you got, like, parties like Cocoon getting 7,000 people every week into Amnesia and Ibiza, and, like, all these, like, Music On and Circo Loco Rebel Rave and Vagabonds and all these amazing brands that are all really good musically, are they underground? Or is the music cutting edge? See, I like to change the word underground to cutting edge, because underground is when it's not about amounts of people, it's about keeping it boutique. So I'd say Superfreq has been pretty underground because it's boutique and it goes under the radar. That's underground. But is there underground anymore? Or is there making money and not making money? You see? And the whole debate has changed here. What is underground? You know? There's a lot of good music that has the potential to become very big. And what is known as underground dance music is now commercial all over the world and being played in the biggest clubs all over the world. You can't really call it underground anymore. What do you call it?
Different.
You see? So, and if underground is now mainstream, is now accepted as being, you know, the go-to form of dance music, then fantastic, because it means that you know, the world has reached a position where it's going to allow good quality artists and musicians to be able to make a decent living and push their career to its fullest potential. And I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We got some questions on Twitter.
Yeah, we do.
Let's see what they say.
Okay, this one is from @dusttilldone. Do you know this person?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Does he remember his first DJ gig?
My first DJ gig? Yes, I do. My first DJ gig was my own party, and it was in an apartment at, this is tricky, because this is my first DJ gig playing house music where I said, I am a DJ. Because I did DJ before and in a couple of little clubs and little things, but I wasn't a DJ. And I didn't say I am a DJ. I was a rapper and I was just playing music because I had an opportunity to fill in for someone, but I wasn't a DJ. So it's a bit of a tricky one. But from the moment I said, I am a DJ, my first DJ gig was putting on my own party in a block of an apartment block, and in this apartment, filling it up with like 150 crazy people and playing. So that was probably my first DJ gig where I said I am a DJ. Before that, I did fill in a couple of times for DJ Ron Tom at the Cotton Club, which was a famous soul and funk blues hardcore club in London, and a couple of little things. But my first house music, that was my own event, my own party, and that was what inspired me to start becoming a DJ for real. But yeah, Dusk Till Done, there's some really nice guys in Boston who I'm actually going to start playing for as a kind of a residency.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Was there a record that killed that night?
Well, when I think about it, loads of memories come flooding in of all the tracks that were big at that point in 1987. And, you know, early acid house, Chicago, Detroit, New York.
Yeah.
That was what it was about. House, acid, techno, garage.
Yeah. Nice.
Okay, do you know DJ Vox?
Nope.
Okay, this question may not make sense then.
He knows you.
Because he asked if he can come to this interview. His name is Jose Marino.
Well, we know the answer to that question.
Right. But I thought he was a friend. And then at What's on St. Alb wants to know when you're coming to St. Albans.
St. Albans.
St. Albans. And how do we find out when he'll be in London so I can shout it?
Okay, St. Albans is just outside London, for the world to know. It's a small town. It's just to the north of London. I'm actually going to be in London this coming Saturday. I'm doing a party on Halloween called RIP with there's a guy called Paul Rip who organised the parties at Clink Street in London Bridge in 1988. That was the birth of acid house culture. Cool. And he's doing a reunion party that I'm helping with this Halloween. So I'll be there this weekend. And the following weekend on the 7th, I'm playing at the Sound of London Underground boat party on the Flame boat, and there might still be some tickets for that. The Rip Party sold out without even announcing DJs or the venue. That's sold out, so forget that. But the Sound of London Underground party on the Golden Flame boat, that's on the 7th. And then Leo and I and his sister Zoe are putting together the End's 20th anniversary party in London on the 12th of December. We've just started promoting that, and tickets will go out on sale next week on Monday. So look out for that one. And then the next time in London after that will be on New Year's Eve, where I'm throwing a Superfreq versus Wiggle. Wiggle is Nathan Coles and Terry Francis's party, so we're coming together and throwing it as a New Year's Eve event in London then. So they're my next London dates.
Sounds like the coolest life.
It's a pretty cool life. It's hard work, yeah. Like especially all the travelling and the waiting around in airports, and it can be hard work, but the reward far outweighs the fun.
Yeah, sounds
give us your best travel tip.
Best travel tip. Register for pre-TSA.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that.
It's the best travel tip with every airline. Why wait in line when you can just walk straight through without taking off your shoes, without taking your laptop out your bag? Why wait when you don't have to? Yeah. So that's my best travel tip. That's Register for pre-TSA with every airline.
That's a good one.
Awesome.
Did you have another?
I don't, but do you have another question?
Yeah, I have two more. So as a rapper, do you listen to any new rap? Is there anything that inspires you?
Not really. I've been listening to it a little bit more of late because one of my Superfreq partners, Noel Jackson, he's also my production partner as East LA Tech, and we've been experimenting with beats and we've been listening to a little bit of rap lately, and he listens to more than I do. I've listened to more of the old school stuff, but he's been listening to like modern pop rap, if you can call it that. And
is there anything you like?
Not really, nothing that I don't remember the names of anything. He's like, oh, check this one out and check that out, and I'll listen to it and I'll go, oh, they're cool beats, and then I forget about it immediately because my focus is elsewhere. But like Noel is starting to investigate all these kind of things. But as rappers, everything I hear, they're just talking about so much rubbish. It's all about sex, and it's quite graphic. I wonder how this stuff even gets played on the radio when they're talking about sticking their dicks into pussies and shit on radio. I mean, they're actually singing this, and radio stations are actually playing it. I mean, I don't get it. Why is that even allowed? Yeah. About their hoes this, and about their dicks this, and about sucking people's dicks and licking pussies, and every song. Is it me or is it my imagination? It's like everything on the radio nowadays is about licking pussy and sucking dick and getting your nuts in and going balls deep. I mean, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe, I don't know. How is that even allowed? Kids are listening to this stuff.
Oh yeah, I've had to explain some things to my 6-year-old.
I don't get it. It shouldn't be allowed on radio. I don't know. And so for me, all that stuff is a load of nonsense. It just goes in one ear and out the other. It's just a bunch of bullshit. But if the kids want to hear about big dicks and being balls deep, then whatever, let them listen to whatever it is that turns them on.
And then the last one, best DJ you've ever seen live.
That's a difficult question.
Sorry.
There's so many great DJs that I've heard. Where does one begin? From, the old school DJs like Carl Cox and, Richie Hawtin back in the day, and, people like Danny Tenaglia, amazing. And, you can just go on forever, like new school people, my missus. She plays the best music I've ever heard, Zo Chic. And there's so many great DJs out there that are playing good stuff, and I enjoy listening to other DJs, and I'm hearing fantastic DJs all the time. And I'm not one of these I'm not a train spotter, and there's so much music out there. Most of the time I never know what people are playing, and I don't go and train spot it or anything. But now there's so many. I could go on forever with DJs. Laurent Garnier, Derek Carter, a lot of the old school people. Junior Vasquez. There's millions of them. Where do you start?
Yeah. It's a good problem to have.
It's a good problem to have. And, you know, I think when DJs are playing with their own style, it's going to be amazing. And when they're doing it for the right reasons, it's going to be amazing. And there's been many people over my 30 plus years of partying that I've been getting down to going, hell to the yeah. And, you know, I like to dance. I like to have fun. And I'm hearing great DJs that are making me dance my ass off all the time.
Nice. Well, thanks for that, Mr. C. Thank you for being here on Rebel
It's
Radio.
my absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me here. I really appreciate being invited.
Beautiful. Come back anytime you want to promote something.
Yeah, please do.
I've got my tent. Yeah,
Please do.
I'm gonna put camp up now, shall I?
Awesome. All right, that was Mr. C. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. That dude is crazy and dope all at once. Come back next week. And in the meantime, hit us on Twitter at Rebel Radio Net. Find our Facebook page, Rebel Radio. Leave us a review on iTunes, comments on SoundCloud, or don't do anything. Bye.